What's going on, everybody? I wanted to make a video for you all to share a little bit more about who I am, my background, even leading up to real estate, because if you've been tuning into the channel, it's likely you've been getting value out of the videos I've been putting out, but you may or may not know who this person is behind the videos. I mean, you've heard I'm a real estate coach, international team leader, etc., etc. But really, how did I get to this point? And more importantly, where am I going from here? And so you'll get to know that and hear that right here in this video. And to really kick it off, I would like to share more about how I got into this journey of personal growth and development and entrepreneurship, because I could trace that all the way back to my childhood. And for some context, I grew up probably in a way that you may be able to relate to. I mean, I know a lot of people can. Typical middle-class household. So I grew up in an okay area. I never was hungry, never really needed or wanted for anything, but I also didn't have a lot of the luxuries that a higher-end sort of background might have afforded. So I would say I grew up in a really typical, average kind of household. You know, played sports growing up, went to school, and that was the path I was on. And I always heard it, right? Go to school, get a job, etc., etc., and follow that pathway. And that's all I ever heard. But the more I grew up, you know, going into teenage years, I didn't really feel like that was my path and calling. It didn't really seem like what I wanted and what really I was supposed to be doing. And so what really clicked though at one point was I had this realization when I was a teenager, talking like 13 years old. I realized I liked cars a lot. And come to think of it, I think I always had, because I loved Hot Wheels when I was really little. And, you know, come to realize that my favorite Hot Wheels when I was like 3 years old was actually a Ferrari. So I think it was just in my DNA from day one. But I realized that when I was 13 because, you know, that's when I saw a Lamborghini for the first time. And I was so intrigued. And it really kicked off this thought like, wow, how do people afford to drive a car like that? Like, how is it that there's people out there that could spend $400,000 on a car? It blew my mind, because up to that point in my life, I had always had the idea from my middle class upbringing that, hey, $50,000 a year is not bad. Like, you know, if you're doing okay in life, you could get to that income. And if you ever got to a six-figure, you know, $100,000 a year income, you were like among, you know, the top earners out there. And so that was my idea, is like, wow, that would be a dream one day to make six figures. Shoot, I'd probably have to go out and become a doctor or lawyer or who knows what. And none of that resonated with me either, because I just, you know, I went to school. I just never really felt like that was my path. And, you know, over the course of time, it really stayed on my mind. Like, wow, how is it that there's people out there that could buy cars like this? Because I wasn't any math wizard, but I figured, well, shoot, someone who's making 50 or 100K a year, like, I still don't know how they could buy a car like that. So it always intrigued me who these people were, what they did. And, you know, just, you know, I guess I had an idea. I mean, all I ever saw was what TV shows, like professional athletes. And I watched way too much TV growing up, but, you know, you see the athletes, the celebrities, the rappers, and you see stuff like that. But outside of that world, which, I mean, think about this. Growing up, it's like, hey, that was always other people. You know, and as cool as that lifestyle would have been, I mean, I don't think it was in my cards to be a rapper, NBA player, etc., etc. I mean, yeah, maybe if I really focused and honed in on it, maybe I could have done a little something with it at the least. But again, it's kind of more of a thing where, hey, that's other people, that's not us. You know, we're just, you know, go to school, get a job, etc. And I think most people, you know, buy into that idea of the American dream. It just wasn't my dream, and nothing against anyone that follows that path. It just wasn't my dream, and it wasn't what really was in my heart to go out and do. I just felt like there was something more for me and that I had a different path than what I heard the world around me speaking towards me. And what I noticed over the course of time as I went through my teenage years, towards the end of the teenage years, probably 18, 19 years old, I noticed that wealthy people, whenever I heard about them, heard stories, it seemed that they always had something going on in real estate. Either one, they were in the real estate business, or two, they owned a lot of real estate. So it's like every single time I saw this correlation with real estate. And up to that point in my life, that was all I knew about real estate. But around that same point in time, I was actually finishing up college. Well, I mean, it was a little after that, early 20s. I was finishing up college because I went into a 4-year degree program to get my business degree, ended up getting a degree in economics. And I did that in 3 years because I was really impatient. I didn't want to take 4 years to do it, so I found a way to do it in 3. And, about midway through my college journey, I really got into the stock market. And even actually prior to that point, I want to make note that during my teenage years, I never worked. And it's not because I was lazy or didn't want to do anything. Like, I just always found a way to do something entrepreneurial. So again, I was seeking out a different path. And it started with reselling things on eBay. And then it turned into selling cars, which, between high school and college, probably over the course of about 4 or 5 years, I probably bought and resold about 200 or so cars, used cars. And so that was what I was doing for some time. It wasn't something I made, any significant amount of money with, but it did allow me to pay for my own expenses when my expenses were especially low, being in college, living at home, etc. And so I got this bug for the stock market. So I had the bug for business already. And then the stock market really caught on because I got this idea actually from my older brother about opening a retirement account. Fortunately, I heard that when I was 18, but I did. So I opened an IRA, and I didn't know how any of that worked. And long story short, I figured out, hey, when you put money in the IRA, you have to do something with it. And so I ended up buying a stock, not just any stock, a penny stock, based on a suggestion from my brother. And good news, bad news. The good news is it actually worked out, and turned over the course of a year, holding that stock, it turned into a 650% gain. So I turned $1,000 into $7,500 in about a year just holding that stock. And that was my first exposure experience to the stock market. I knew nothing about the stock market up to that point in time. In fact, that's all I knew at that point, which is, hey, I just found a way to multiply money. I just found the money machine here. And so that was my conception of how that worked. So I tried to recreate that situation, failed miserably, and it escalated very quickly over the next few months into actively day trading penny stocks. And so over the next 4 months, I made several hundred trades in and out of penny stocks on a daily basis. And I had some ups and downs with it. There were actually a period of a couple months where I was doing good. Like, I was profitable trading. And it's not because I was a genius. I thought I was at the time, but turns out the sector I was trading in was very hot. And so it was hard to lose for a brief period of time if you were just buying the right companies as they were popping off. And that's what I did. So for me, I made like a very significant amount of money for me at that point in my life over the course of a month, like unlike anything else I had ever done up to that point. And I thought that's how I was going to get to 6 figures. Like, based on what I did over a couple months, I very clearly saw like, okay, I can keep doing this and building upon it. And I'm going to be earning 6 figures a year, and I can do this from my own home. I could do this. I was doing it while I was going to classes at that point. So I thought I just figured out, my calling, because I love trading. To me, it was like playing a video game, except you get paid for it. But that went downhill very quickly. I took way too much risk on one trade. I didn't really know what I was doing in hindsight, and I ended up almost blowing up, effectively losing everything I had earned and then some on a single trade that went really far south. Kind of a crazy story there, but it put me in a situation where I very much realized I need help with this. I don't understand this. And through that, it turned out to be a biggest blessing, because at that moment in time, I'll tell you this, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life up to that point. It was so painful. In fact, it took me from a spot where literally that one trade, I was living on my own in had a roommate apartment, so we were splitting. It wasn't too bad, but hey, I had my own, living expenses I was taking care of. I had moved out of my parents' house. It was something I was very prideful of and very set on never, having to go back. And also had my own car, a car I really liked. I got a BMW 335 with a manual transmission, and I loved that thing. But I had a car payment as a result, and just, paying all my own bills, which not crazy expenses, but, easily a couple grand a month that I needed to clear. And it took me from a spot over that one trade where I was euphoric about, being on track to make a six-figure income trading to, oh my gosh, I don't know how many more months I'm going to be able to pay my bills. And so turned around quickly. So I ended up moving out of my apartment. I ended up selling my 335, my BMW that I bought. And I didn't have a place, had to move back into the parents' house. I didn't have a car, had to borrow a car, and I was broke. In fact, I scrambled and opened up a couple of credit cards just so that I could have some money to use to pay my whatever I needed to pay to keep things going over the next few months. And I'm glad I did that because I learned about real estate in the process. So fast forward about a year from that bad trade, I found someone who became my mentor in the stock market, someone who I learned about how to properly navigate it from, how to not day trade, and especially not penny stocks. I mean, my ignorant self at the time, I thought that I was going to learn how to day trade penny stocks properly from, this person I found as a mentor. But as it turns out, that's not what he was there to teach me. In fact, he wasn't there to teach me about the stock market, not solely that, at least. What I learned from him turned out to be so invaluable. So that it got me on the trajectory of really learning how to learn and how to become who it is I wanted to become. And so I learned about stocks in the process. I learned how to build a long-term portfolio investing in stocks, and not penny stocks, but big name stocks, blue chip stocks, the big companies we know of today that, think Coca-Cola, think Google, think, there's a lot. And I'm not saying you should or shouldn't invest in those, but just to give you an idea, I was trading unknown companies that, quite frankly, penny stocks you see in Wolf of Wall Street, a lot of these companies aren't even real. They're just on paper, but went from understanding how to navigate real big companies, which I always thought you had to have a lot of money to do that. Well, it turns out I was wrong about that. But I learned how to position myself in the stock market. Problem was, I didn't have money left to do it with. So I didn't really have a strong stream of income. I didn't really have capital left since I lost it. So I was soaking up all these knowledge over the next few months about the stock market, knowing that, hey, I'm going to be able to use this at some point. But in the near term, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. So I'm finishing my college degree. I graduate, and I'm still kind of there because, the last thing I wanted to do was take that degree and go get a job for it. I wanted to get my degree to stick it on the wall, to be able to know that I had done it, because no one in my household up to that point had ever done that. So it was a big milestone in and of itself, but I didn't get the degree with the intention of going to go work for somebody. I knew I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. I just didn't know really what it was up to that point. And it turns out that through my mentor, I learned probably the most valuable thing, which is how to develop my mind, how to become who it is I wanted to become. Because up to that point in life, it was a mystery to me. How do, people build wealth? How do people, achieve a certain threshold of success, however you want to measure it? And for me, it was always an elusive thing, always a mystery, but it became clear because through a couple of books that my mentor recommended to me, I actually read them, and it made me realize, like, wait a second, this is how you go and do that. This is how you build that life and become who it is you want to become. And so it just allowed me to see more clearly. And so from that point on, by the way, this was summer 2014. So I went from a point where I never read a book to improve myself outside of what was required reading in school. Those were the only books I ever read up to that point to improve upon myself, because it was required reading. And from that point on, summer 2014, I started to read a lot of books. And it's because that was a big key in terms of, hey, the information is out there. There's people who have condensed their life experience into, 100, 200, 300, 400 pages, whatever it is. But, that's so invaluable because you can learn from them and then you can go and apply it in any direction you want. So I started learning more about, the stock market, from people that have been doing it for a long time. I mean, such as Benjamin Graham, if you know anything about Warren Buffett, you probably have heard of him. But just others like that who had a lot of experience, and I learned some insights from that. But even more importantly, I just learned about mindset, and just also over the course of the next year, I heard my mentor talk about real estate. He told some stories. He was someone who's an investor in real estate, but through him, I ended up connecting with somebody who worked in the industry on a day-to-day basis. And from that person, I learned, practically speaking, how you go about getting started in real estate. And so learned a few different things like, hey, how do you go about investing in real estate if you've never done that? How do you go about working in the industry if you've never done that? And from there, I learned about what a real estate license was and how you could get started with it, but even more importantly, why and how real estate agents get paid. And so that was all new for me. I never had really seen or been a part of a real estate transaction in my life up to that point. But when I got that information, it really clicked to me. I'm like, wait a second. For the past 3 years, I've been paying to attend college, to learn, to get this degree that I never intend on using for anything. And the classes were very expensive. And it occurred to me, like, wait, you're telling me I could go out and get a real estate license, position myself to learn the industry, dealing with properties, finding deals, just the whole process with everything. And instead of having to pay for all that, you're telling me I can put myself in a position where I could get paid commissions to help navigate that whole process? Sign me up. For me, it was a no-brainer. Of course, there's a little bit of cost to get started in it, but the bigger thing, I saw the bigger thing, which is, hey, this is going to give me the ability to earn commissions. Once I have this license, I can help people buy, sell, invest in real estate. And through that, I can really learn the ins and outs of the industry and how to navigate this. Because I saw at the time, I'm going to need to know how to navigate this. Because why? Well, anytime I see a wealthy person, they're involved in real estate. They either work in real estate or own a lot of real estate. In either case, I'm going to need to know a lot about real estate at some point down the road. So why not start now? And I saw it as a way I could build an income stream, because if I had an income stream, I could have income coming in. I can have money to set aside, invest in the stock market, apply that knowledge, and really build something. So that's how I got into real estate. Biggest blessing in my life, I lost my butt on a penny stock trade. And as a result of that, I was open-minded to really understand I need somebody to help me with this, to teach me how to properly navigate that. And through that, I met my mentor, who ended up showing me how to become who it is I wanted to be, and also introducing me to real estate, which I stepped in, I applied myself to it, and that is what changed everything. And so over that first year in real estate, it wasn't easy, but I'll tell you what, I was determined to make it work. I was determined to make it happen. For me, failure was not an option. For me, quitting was not an option. I was set on making it work, and I knew, hey, I might have to overcome some lessons, some failures in the midst, but I'm not going to get in this thing and get out of it. I was set that I would make it happen. I was determined from day one that I would get my first deal closed. And I knew that once I achieved that, I would figure out what's next from that point. And sure enough, I did. About 4 months in with the license, I got my first deal done. Another 4 months later, I got my second one. First buy side, first listing. And then another 4 months, I got my third one. And over that course of that first year, I was broke the whole time. In fact, I was running up my credit cards, ended up maxing it out a couple of times right before my first and my second deal closed, just to have to pay like what I needed to pay to be in business and just to keep going about life. And so I wasn't being irresponsible. I just did not have income and revenue coming in from my business up to that point. So it was stacking up. So I say that to let you know that year one was challenging. It was a test. For me, my test was financial. For some, the test is not financial. It's something else, or it could be a mix of finances and other things. But I say that because I know exactly what it's like to start at ground zero and actually to be in the negative from the get-go. And despite that, I put my head to it, I put the work in, and I made it work. Now, that being said, I learned a lot in the process. In fact, knowing what I know now, there's a few things I would have done differently that would have helped me get more traction sooner and position myself better over the course of time. But year one, I made it through, and then I built upon it from there. So, I didn't earn a whole lot year one. It wasn't terrible by any means. I mean, I closed 3 deals, a little over $1.2 million in closed sales volume year one between 3 deals, which that's not bad, especially in the market area I started in. But, at the end of the day, you're talking about a $25,000 income thereabouts, and your gross commissions, that is. And I mean, year two, it was significantly more than that, closer to, I believe, 12 or so deals closed and closer to 6 figures worth of income. I believe it was 89,000 or so year two. And then from there on out, it was kind of similar the next few years in terms of the result of it. So I did clear the 6-figure threshold that I, had on my mind from a young age, just thinking like, wow, this is where people are really at when they're set. And I'll tell you, just my mindset developed so much along the way where I realized, okay, that is not the pinnacle. And I realized from my experience, like even when you get to that point, it's not enough. It really isn't. Like cost of living has gone up, and I could go into a whole lot more with that. But bottom line is, it's not what it used to be. And I mean, we can set out for any goal. If we can pick one or the other, like why think small when we can think bigger? Like, especially if we're in an industry with an opportunity to go out and create it. Like real estate provides an opportunity for us to build whatever it is we want in life. And that's one of the things I really loved about it. So that brings me to kind of where I'm at today. And then I'll speak a little bit about looking forward. So, the first few years in the business, I was solely in production. And just to be real, I had a lot of distractions along the way. I mean, at one point I got more into wholesaling, did some wholesale deals. Another point I got into fix and flipping, did some flips. And during both those points in time, I really wasn't focused on my production business. So even though I was doing some production business, I wasn't focused on growing it. So in hindsight, I could have gotten a lot more done if I focused on my production business the whole time. And, really made it a priority to just keep building and building that the first few years in the business instead of, kind of shifting focuses at various points along the way. But anyway, I got my license July 2015. And so this will be my 8th year in the business since getting started in it. And, the first few years of that, really the first 5-6 years, aside from the distractions, my bread and butter was helping buyers, sellers, and investors buy, sell, invest in real estate. And my primary income was the active income of closing my own deals and building my own business there. And about a little over a year ago, by this summer will be about 2 years ago, I made a big shift in my business. So I intentionally decided to focus more on the team building side of things and helping other real estate agents grow and succeed in the business. Because I realized it was something I enjoyed doing. I mean, I enjoyed seeing people that were getting into the industry, kind of looking at it the same way I saw it, as a way that they could really build something for the long term and get started in this industry, learn it, and earn in the process. And so I realized that, as I helped the first few people do that over the past few years, I realized that I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing those who really made the most of that opportunity and grew with it and built their production from zero or from wherever it was at the time to something more and bigger, and just the difference that made in people's lives along the way. So I intentionally started committing more time, energy, effort into helping more people on that side of the business and becoming someone who's more of a coach and leader, and just someone who pours more into others, and not just buyers, sellers, investors every day, but really other real estate agents. And so I made that shift, and with the partner of mine, who kind of had a similar sort of mindset, we got together and really started building something on the team building side of things. And so we started that. There's actually a lot more to this story, but just to keep it short and sweet for now, we launched an international real estate team back in July 2020. And, we started that with both him and I, and, going on 2.5 years later here, we have grown and scaled that to almost 100 agents spanning 28 states, another province. And a lot of these people, vast majority, in fact, we actually helped get started in the industry as licensed real estate agents. And, also there's agents in the mix who we didn't help get started in the industry, but we helped them, effectively take their business from where it was to, closer to where they wanted it to be. So to get more traction, and, there's a lot of stuff we do to help all those agents in that group, but we've grown and scaled that. And last year, our second full year in the business, we collectively did 319 closings. So 319 closed transactions, $113.5 million in production. And my primary focus at this point in looking forward is to continue building and growing that with the right people. Now, on top of that, I have a broader organization of real estate agents that I am the leader of, and that's within the brokerage I operate, eXp Realty. So within eXp, there's people that are production focused, and there's people that are more so focused on the team building side of things, and a good mix of people who do both as well. But I'm someone who is more focused on the team building side of things and helping agents increase their production rather than being in production myself. And so within that realm, within my company, today we're at 87,000 agents. I'm top 200 in the entire company in terms of the team building side of the business, as far as what I've built and the amount of other agents I've helped with their business, growing, building it, and making those positive changes in their lives. So my vision looking forward is to keep building upon that, to keep building my business. And the way I build my business is by helping individual agents within it increase their production, build their teams if that's what they want to do. Not everyone wants to do that, but there's some that do, and I can help and support with that. And just doing various things to help people dial things in as productive real estate agents. Business planning, strategy, etc., etc. There's a lot that I do to help agents get from zero production to top producer or anywhere in between. Or hey, maybe they're already in production, 5-10 deals a year, whatever it is. Like, we can take that and build it to wherever it is you want to go if we're clear about the goal. And we can break it down and work backwards to figure out what the action plan is. And a lot of agents, they just need somebody who's helping them navigate all that, especially within a company like the one I'm a part of, which is the most productive real estate company in the United States. We sell more real estate than any other company out there. But within a big pond, a big sea like that, when you're swimming in that big of a sea, it really helps to have someone who knows how to navigate all of it, helping you do exactly that. And looking forward, I don't really care how many people are part of the team I have within it, because for me, the bigger goal as far as the number goes is to help the people in my organization and to really build that out. So my vision looking forward is, to build that organization. A big milestone was 200. I hit that recently. Next major milestone is going to be 1,000. So, to take that from where it is today to, over 1,000 agents, all 50 states, multiple countries, that's where I'm heading from this point on. And, within that mix of agents, I want to help as many as possible become top producers. To be within the top 3% of agents in the entire industry, selling the most real estate, building big incomes and lives as a result of that, and really building, their portfolios in real estate. So for me, my game plan is that continues to build and grow. My business will continue to grow, and so will my, income in life as a result. But for me, my primary focus with that is not to just increase my lifestyle. Like there's things I want. I like cars a lot. So that's something that I always want more of. But the number one thing is going to be to take what I've learned in the process and use it to build something for the long term. So to build my long-term investment portfolio, not just in stocks, but in real estate. And so for me, that's the primary area that, the extra income and, resources as that all builds, I want to take a significant portion of it and to continue to put it away towards investing for the long term and setting my family up, for all the time ahead with that. And so to, have a real estate portfolio. In fact, I own my own home right now. I got that a little less than 2 years ago, and it's about time to get number 2. So going to start searching for property number 2 here very shortly, and just keep building upon it with that. But every year be putting away a significant portion of the income I have coming in and put the lion's share of that towards more property and then other assets like stocks and other things that are just in alignment with building that long term. And, to also help other people do that, to just set the right example as a leader and to help people navigate those next steps to build the income they want to have coming in real estate, but not just so that they can live that great lifestyle that they're after, which, great if you want to live that. Everyone should go after something great, but to really position themselves to not have to worry long term, because great incomes are good, but what happens when it stops? When your income is solely based on producing results, what happens if life happens and then you can't go out and produce that next result? Then what? So I think it's important and prudent that, especially if you're positioning yourself to have a great income, like take a portion of it and put it towards setting you and your family up long term. And when you have someone who's kind of helping you navigate that side of things, at least setting an example of what to do, how to do it, and also potentially bringing the right connections and resources to the table as far as, kind of different avenues that you can do that and go about it the right way. That's a big difference maker right there. So, I want to help others in this industry position themselves for the long term too, so that they can make that lasting difference for themselves, their families, their communities. And maybe a few will even make a big difference on a broader scale than that. But whatever happens, I believe if you help enough people that some will do something good for it, and that's what will make a difference. And I just feel really blessed to be on this journey. And I know I probably went a little long-winded there, but number one thing is, I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in, that I'm glad that you're finding value out of the content. I'm looking forward to sharing a lot more in the time ahead. And I'd actually like to open it up for you at this point. What questions do you have for me? What would you like to know more about? Drop me a question in the comment. I will definitely read it. I might respond in the comments, and I just might answer it in a future video depending on what the question is, and kind of, take it from there. But thank you all for tuning in. And last thing I'd say is that if there's anything I can potentially do to help you now or in the future, go ahead and send me an email. You'll find that along with some other helpful resources for you in the description below. And with that in mind, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.